Hello everyone, my name is Moji. You're watching a Bitcoin Bubble News channel. I would say that Jamie Dimon doesn't like Bitcoin and has said in public that he doesn't like it because he likes the idea of money that can be programmed and watched. I mean, maybe he wants to change his mind about Bitcoin as a way to store assets now that people like Larry Fink have come out and supported it. But keep in mind that even Larry Fink was against Bitcoin a few years ago. He has changed his mind since then, though. I believe that will be the case with all of these. People on Wall Street have been very negative about Bitcoin over the past few years. In Whitney Webb's latest interview about what Bitcoin did, we learn about powerful people in the financial world and how their goals could either help or hurt Bitcoin. It is currently being talked about that Bitcoin is worth $63,000. It has gone down 1% in the last 24 hours and up 10% in the last 7 days. Whitney Webb delves into the complicated relationships between Larry Fink and Jamie Dimon to look at how they might affect the future of Bitcoin. She talks about the complicated connections between big banks, government agencies, and cryptocurrency markets. This shows the secret goals that might change the digital currency world. Webb's ideas show how delicate the balance is between Bitcoin's decentralized nature and the organized power structures that want to control it or use it to their own advantage. Enjoy the talk, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. Let's hear more from Whitney Webb now. In a recent interview with Whitney Webb about what Bitcoin did, we learned about important people in the financial world and how their goals could either help Bitcoin grow or hurt it. At the moment, the price of Bitcoin is $1.63. It has gone down 1% in the last 24 hours and up 10% in the last 7 days. Whitney Webb delves into the complicated relationships between important people like Larry Fink, and she talks about the complicated connections between big banks, government agencies, and cryptocurrency markets. This shows the secret goals that might change the digital currency world. Webb's comments show how delicate the balance is between Bitcoin's decentralized nature and the organized power structures that want to control it or use it to their own advantage. 4-0. Because of this, Endeavor is kind of like an offshoot of some of these other groups that did similar things. Okay, and in our last piece, Deck from Above, we talked about the Club of Rome because the Green Plus program we were looking at had ties to it. It was this group called Adela that really got the Club of Rome off the ground. The Rockefeller family and many other powerful business people, mostly in Western Europe and North America, backed it, and their main goal was to improve the business and economic situations in Latin America. So basically, they would pick the companies they wanted to succeed and give them a huge amount of money based on the country they were in. That means that none of their rivals can really match the amount of money that is being put into these carefully chosen businesses. And so those companies get to the top, and the people who run them become something like local oligarchs. But they owe their increased power and influence to the people who give them money. So if people from the West, like the Rockefeller family, want a certain strategy to be put in place in Latin America or ask for a favor, are those people going to say no? It doesn't seem likely, does it? So, big networks in the West did that in Latin America a long time ago. What's more disturbing is that the same people at Adela, along with the Rockefellers and the people who later gave money to the Club of Rome, have been big supporters of things like deindustrializing and depopulating Latin America by making the continent unstable and putting in place all kinds of other issues or policies. In fact, Kissinger wrote a paper about national security that said pretty much the same thing but put it in the form of a threat to national security. To put this kind of thing in perspective, Adela was getting a lot of good press at the time. For example, Time magazine and other publications were talking about how great they were for Latin American companies. When you look at a group like Endeavor, I'm sure it's seen in a positive light all over South America. The problem is that the people who started Endeavor, like Rottenberg and Kellner, have ties that are, as we explain in the piece, troubling. Also, the people who gave Endeavor millions of dollars to become what it is today are definitely very disturbing, especially Piero Midyar of eBay and the Bronfman family, who have a lot of ties to, we've already talked about some of it, but there's a lot more to say about both of them. And if you look at a lot of philanthropies, you'll see that a lot of these very controversial billionaires want to give money to young people who will lead the world. In the past few years, the outgoing chairman of the WEF, Klaus Schwab, said on video that the Young Global Leader program is great because it lets us get into cabinets. This is why, during COVID, all of these young global leaders were in all of these different cabinets around the world. Because of this, one reason why so many countries may have taken the same position and policies when it came to COVID-19. Endeavor is another network like this one. A lot of the people who worked on it are also young. Wednesday's Casares is also full of young world leaders. These people work in both the public and private sectors, And Endeavor focuses only on the private sector in emerging markets. As we've already talked about, there's a big push to make Latin America totally dependent on the US, financially tied to the US, and with all of its resources owned by the US. That's pretty much what powerful people have said in the past, though maybe in a slightly more vague way. For example, I'm pretty sure that John Bolton, who was Trump's national security director and is a very unpopular neocon, has said things like, Latin America is basically ours. So, people are trying to make that happen. And I would say that Endeavor is a way to build these company landscapes in a way that is similar to Adela and makes it look like it is decentralized, but it's not really. These two groups do, however, share many of the same ties and funds. And when those strong people at the top call those entrepreneurs, they can be persuaded. And I'll say it again, the main Endeavor-backed companies are built on Endeavor. This may be the most important thing to remember. Argentina, in particular, are quickly becoming the most popular places on the continent to do e-commerce, use fintech, crypto, and obviously Bitcoin. This is especially true now when people are being forced to use these platforms because of what I would call engineered economic crisis. That has been going on for decades in places like Argentina. You chose someone like Milei because he says, I'm going to dollarize, but maybe he's not now. But stablecoins let you do that in a way. And these are the most important things when it comes to crypto payment lines. A lot of it is built on Mercado Libre, which is the biggest online store on the whole continent and was one of the first companies that Endeavor backed in 1999. One of them is Marco Scalperin, who is big. Big name, but one of his co-founders at Mercado Libre made Kasich Ventures with another Endeavor entrepreneur. Together, they've given money to thousands of startups. It makes a lot of sense for all of these businesses. A lot of the time, you depend on your income because you don't want to lose it.